What's up, CTK kids? It's so good to see you here again with me for another week of learning. Today we are going to be talking about a man named Jonah. And, I bet you can't believe this, a whale. Do you guys know whales? They're huge, big fish in the ocean! And they're in our Bible story today. It's going to be so fun to learn about, and I am so glad that you are here with me. So before we start, let's say a quick prayer. Dear Jesus, thank you so much for bringing us together today to learn about you and your goodness and your love. I pray that today you can open our hearts for us to learn new things, and that you can show us where you want us to take that knowledge, whether it be sharing it with someone or applying it to our own lives or just knowing, Lord, that you always love us. Thank you so much for bringing us together today. Amen. All right, you guys, so here we go. This is such an exciting story. I'm just going to get right into the Bible because it does a really good job of telling us what happens. So, this is from the book of Jonah, chapter 1. It's called Jonah Flees from the Lord. The word of the Lord came to Jonah. Go to the great city of Nineveh and preach against it, because its wickedness has come up before me. But Jonah ran away from the Lord and headed for Tarshish. He went down to Joppa, where he found a ship bound for the port. After paying the fare, he went aboard and sailed for Tarshish to flee from the Lord. What? Then the Lord sent a great wind on the sea, and such a violent storm arose that the ship threatened to break up. All the sailors were afraid and cried out to their own gods, and they threw the cargo into the sea to lighten up the ship. But Jonah had gone below deck, where he lay down and fell into a deep sleep. The captain went to him and said, "How can you sleep? Get up and call on your God. Maybe he will take notice of us so that we will not perish." The sailors said to each other, "Come on, let's cast lots to find out who is responsible for this calamity." They cast lots, and the lot fell on Jonah. So they asked him, "Tell us, who is responsible for making all this trouble for us? What kind of work do you do? Where do you come from? What is your country? For what people do you answer?" He answered, "I am a Hebrew, and I worship the Lord, the God of heaven, who had made the sea and this dry land." This terrified them, and they asked, "What have you done?" They knew he was running away from the Lord because he had already told them so. The sea was getting rougher and rougher, so they asked him, "What should we do to make the sea calm down for us?" "Pick me up and throw me into the sea," he replied, "and it will become calm. I know that it is my fault that this great storm has come upon you." Instead, the men did their best to row back to land, but they could not because the sea grew even wilder than before. Then they cried out to the Lord, "Please, Lord, do not let us die for taking this man's life. Do not hold us accountable for killing an innocent man, for you, Lord, have done as you pleased." Then they took Jonah and threw him overboard, and the raging sea grew calm. At this, the men greatly feared the Lord, and they offered a sacrifice to the Lord and made vows to him. Now the Lord provided a huge fish to swallow Jonah, and Jonah was in the belly of the fish for 3 days and 3 nights. Oh my gosh! So much just happened, you guys. That was a long passage. Thank you for staying with me through it. You guys did an awesome job. Well, there was a lot that happened. Do you guys agree? So here's what we're going to do. We're going to go back through it and draw a little picture. Now, I have to admit, I'm not a great artist, but I'm going to do my best, okay? Here we go. So, we had Jonah. Let's say he looks something like this. I gave him some cool curly hair, right? And Jonah, one day, he heard from God. God's up here, and he said to Jonah, "Jonah, I want you to go over here and do what I want from you." But Jonah got scared. He was like, "What? No way!" And he ran away this way. And Jonah found a boat, right? Woo! Ocean, ocean, ocean. And he got on the boat, and they sailed away. But as they were leaving, the storm came. Wow! got lots of rain and wind, and it swirled around the boat, and it got worse and worse until everyone decided that what they had to do was throw Jonah off the ship. Now that's super confusing, is it? Why would they throw him off? And it's because Jonah knew, and the people on the boat knew, that the reason the storm was happening is because God was trying to stop Jonah from going with these people. He wanted Jonah to do what he asked him to do originally. So Jonah knew this too, and so he let them throw him off the boat and into the water. Can you guys imagine that? Being on a boat in a big storm. First of all, that's so scary. And then all of a sudden, you get thrown off the boat and into all of this water. It would be cold. I would be scared. I wouldn't know what to do. But even though Jonah disobeyed God, God was still with him and still had a plan for him. And this is what he did. It's so crazy. There was a big fish in the sea, like a whale. Okay? It was really big. This does not look anything like a whale, but I know you guys can use your imaginations. It was in the sea, and it swallowed Jonah. And Jonah stayed inside the belly of this fish for 3 days. Can you guys believe that? What in the world? That's just, I don't even know what to say, guys. That's crazy. But God's protecting him in here, right? And before we know what happens next, because this is so exciting. Oh, wow. This is a pretty drawing, isn't it, guys? I challenge you to draw Jonah and the whale, but way better than this, because I know you're all way more artistic than I am. So, have you guys ever tried to outrun something that was being asked of you? Like, in this story, Jonah is trying to outrun the plan that God has for him, kind of because it's scary and confusing. Like, I know before I've tried to outrun things people have asked of me. Maybe in school, I've tried to distract my teachers so I could get extra time to finish a project that I hadn't been working on. Or sometimes I even get confused by what God's asking me. Like, I feel like I'm supposed to go do something for him, and I'm like, are you serious, God? That's what you want me to do? It can be confusing, it can be scary, and you can just not know what's going on. But God shows us in this story that what he wants to do is so much bigger than what we know. So here's an example that might be a little easier to see. I'm going to head outside for a minute. Come on, guys. So let's say I'm running down the road and I represent Jonah, or any of us, just going through life. This car coming by is like God. The car can choose to slow down and drive right alongside me, maybe to say hi or give me a wave, or it can speed up and go ahead. Sometimes God chooses to drive right next to us. He can give us encouragement, instructions, or just be present with us. And while God is always with us, he can also drive ahead to get to the next part of our plan ready. No matter how hard I try, I just can't run as fast as the car can drive. This is like how even though Jonah tried to change God's plan, God was still in control. Now, maybe you're thinking, but Miss Emily, what if Jonah was scared or confused or he just didn't know what God was asking of him? And that's a good question, because the truth is sometimes what God asks of us can be a little confusing. But there's a couple things I like to think about that help me through times like that. The first is that God is always with us and he's always listening. If we have questions or concerns, we can pray to God and he will give us the answers he knows we need. Now, these might not happen in the way we think they will. Like if I ask God for the answer to something, he might not just tell me. He might reveal it to me in some way or give me an opportunity that helps me find the answer. But God's going to give us everything we need to go down the path he's given us, because he's designed that path specifically for us, and he knows that we can do anything with him, right? I mean, God's pretty great, and he's just not going to take us down any path that he knows we can't handle, because he's so good and so loving and so kind always. God is just so awesome. The other thing I remember is it scarier to do something that's maybe a little confusing or to live a life without God? I know I would personally never want to live a life without God, because he's always there for me, he's always looking out for me, he loves me, he sent his son to die for me. God is always doing so many great, awesome, amazing things, But in order to receive them, we have to accept them, and we have to be in a relationship with them. And we have to do what God asks of us and glorify Him. So, I think I would choose doing something for God over not having a relationship with Him at all. Because that would be a scary way to live. Don't you guys think? So, now that we've kind of seen what happens with Jonah and how he really tries to outrun God's plan, but it looks like maybe he just can't. Let's see what happens at the end of his story. Because I don't think he just stays in the belly of a whale forever. That'd be kind of crazy. Here we go. This is Jonah chapter 2. From inside the fish, Jonah prayed to the Lord his God. And then Jonah says a long prayer about how when he was distressed, he called to God and God helped him, and he praises God and thanks Him, and it's super cool, but we're not going to read it right now, but you guys should definitely go back and read it. It's Jonah chapter 2, verses 2 through 9. 2 through 9. And then the chapter continues like this. And the Lord commanded the fish, and it vomited Jonah onto dry land. I almost said Yoda, like from Star Wars. That's silly. This is about Jonah, not about Star Wars. Then the word of the Lord came to Jonah a second time. Go to the great city and proclaim to it the message I give you. Jonah obeyed the word of the Lord and went. And there you have it, guys. The place that Jonah was supposed to go all along, the place that he ran away from, God finally brought him back to. Because, remember guys, remember my good drawing? When Jonah ran away, he ran into this huge storm. And God sent the storm, but it's because God knew the plan that He had for Jonah, and He knew the plan was good, even if Jonah was scared and couldn't see it at first. So God sent the storm to set him back on the right track, to set him on the plan that God has for him. And I think this is such a great reminder that even if we mess up, if we get scared, if we sin, if we do something wrong, if we ask for God's forgiveness, if we say, hey God, please bring me back to this path that you have given me, He's gonna find a way to get us there. And it's gonna be good, and He's gonna give us forgiveness. Because the truth is, we're all gonna screw up sometimes. But God's okay with that because He loves us so much. He sent His Son to die for us, and He just wants us to ask for that forgiveness and receive His love and grace in response, which I think is just fantastic. So, before we go, let's say a prayer. Here we go. Dear Jesus, thank you so much for bringing us all here together today. I am so thankful for each and every person who has watched these videos every week. Because even though we can't be together in person, Lord, you have used this platform to bring us together online, and I'm so thankful for that. I'd like to pray for each of us in our journeys today, Lord. Sometimes we stray from you because we're scared or lost or confused, but the truth is, Lord, you always know how to bring us back. So however we may be straying today, I pray that you bring us back, you show us your grace, Lord, and just show us the path that you have for us. Speak boldly to us and guide us this week, and just help us to obey you and love you and just to show your goodness to others. Lord, thank you for always forgiving us, for always loving us, and for having so many awesome plans for each and every one of us. We love you so much, Lord. Amen. You guys, thank you so much for coming and hang out with me today. We got to learn about Jonah and a whale. I think that is so cool because I don't know about you guys, but I love whales. Like, I know, you know how much I love ducks, but whales are like pretty up there too. Just saying, they're pretty great. So I hope you guys take some time this week to be thankful, to praise Jesus, to pray, and just see where He's guiding you. I'm so excited to see where you guys are headed next on your paths, and I'll be praying for each of you. I love you all, and I hope you have a great week, and I'll see you soon. Bye, guys!